Um, what's working? Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of Vesuvius Town Council, Wednesday, November the 12th, 2025 at 2 p.m. in council chambers. Normally, we hold our meetings on Tuesday, but because Tuesday this week was Remembrance Day, we've moved it one day. So we first of all need the regular open agenda of November the 12th to be approved, please. There are no late items. No, thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor? Thank you. And the adoption of some minutes, the regular open minutes from October the 28th, 2025. Could we have a motion to accept those? Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Potterica, all in favor. Thank you. And we will first of all deal with some water districts 8 and 9 financial accounts. And then expenditures from accounts payable to water district information be received for information. And that would be as of November the 12th. That would be in the amount of $27,465.86. Good. Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Appleby, seconded by Councillor Potterica. All in favor. Thank you very much. Okay, now we will go on to the domestic water utility budget. And we will ask Mrs. Keith to do that, please. Thank you.
Okay, the purpose of these reports are to bring forward the 2026 to 2030 utility budgets and any changes that we have proposed. As a quick overview, it's all the same time here. We're talking about on this slide, we're going to talk about the budget impacts of both the domestic, agriculture, sewer, and waste management budgets as a summary slide. This is just purely impact to the user of a basic residential home within the town. So the impact for users of domestic water will be $7.26 per month. Agriculture prorated to 84 cents per acre per month, annualized. Sewer 2.71 per month, and waste management 2.77 per month for residential pickup. With some general statements here to show that what some possible impacts could be in the future, and that is inflation expected to remain relatively stable over the next few years. The U.S. fluctuating trade situation places additional risk on the overall economy and the price of goods. The state of the utilities infrastructure requires significant investment. Budgeted reserves are mixed. This issue is compounded by the condition of our town infrastructure being in a similar state, which adds to the overall risk and the borrowing exposure of the town. General statements which apply to domestic water. The construction of the water plant will put a significant pressure on the town's borrowing capacity, even with the potential of significant risks, grants. Staff vacancies have resulted in many projects being delayed. Although this provides additional funding for reserves, the inflationary cost to complete this work typically increases as the rate is higher than general CPI. Reserves are increased marginally within the both water budgets. Domestic and agriculture water system budgets were separated within our financial system. This would enable more transparency to the customers using their services so that we can ensure one user is paying for the system that's in their area and vice versa. We have put forward a couple accounting adjustments. Specifically, we're again separating the domestic and agriculture water system budgets. To provide more transparency, we'll also ensure users only pay for their capital projects. More work will be required in this area to streamline it in future years. Moving to standard accounting practice of funding projects from reserves. Previously, projects were funded from previous year's surpluses, operating, and reserves. We have a correction that we want to put forward for an error in applying the correct rate in 2025. The bylaw and the corresponding water utility bills was less than what was budgeted. The shortfall is approximately $169,000 or equates down to $2.37 per resident per month. For domestic water, budget increases and projects, CPI and labor agreements were incorporated into the budget, which is standard every year. Exception maintenance and supplies were increased to 89,000 to address increased maintenance costs for the town's aged infrastructure. This additional cost is calculated at $1.94 per month per resident. Reserve allocations were decreased by $1.25. However, $5.52 was added to the debt charges, resulting in a net increase of $4.27 to capital. This slide, as is in the report, just kind of takes your general operating expenses, breaks down the increase per resident per month to the different cost categories. First slide represented operating costs. This takes us into what we consider other items, which would be your debt charges, transfer to capital reserve, and capital from operating, for a net total operating and general expense of $7.26 per month. Capital considerations for 2026 is going to be a year of catch-up. Many prior year projects remain outstanding. We have two projects that are proposed for 2026, which is the East Osoyoos Reservoir and the water main on 89th. These were presented in the 2025 five-year plan. Again, we have some potential risks going forward. We have a rate increase from 2024, which assisted in long-term financial sustainability. A one-time grant to reduce proposed increase in 2024 will result in future increases to reserves of approximately $800,000. 2023 True Engineering Water System Infrastructure Plan was built on the assumptions of groundwater, and we'll be moving to surface water. Further going on, this plan will require some updating. Grant funding is critical in meeting the proposed capital plan. Overall debt will increase user fees and taxes and will increase overall risk due to fluctuating interest rates in future years. We propose to centralize our fleet into one more corporate model. Further work is required on separating the domestic and agriculture water systems and moving to a more 5-year plan to review multi-years as opposed to just 1 year going forward. Again, this slide is to just more identify potential risks going forward, which the water plant is a large item for the town. It's going to most likely increase user fees to $27 per month to offset borrowing. Borrowing will most likely be proposed over an extended period of 30 years, which again increases risk to the users due to changing interest rates. And plant borrowing likely to be in the tune of $33 million, moving to a fixed plus variable usage billing system. And staff vacancies always cause a hiccup in our resources going forward. This is our last slide for domestic. It's more of an in conclusion and a further consideration for council. The domestic water budget is proposed at $7.26 currently. The reserves are underfunded. Council could choose to adjust the proposed increase or move in the direction to be more in line with the 20-year infrastructure replacement plan prepared by True Engineering. Approximately $600,000 annually is required. If we looked at option 1, 600 additional funds would have impact on residents of $12 per month. If reduced it to 150, it would be an additional impact of $3 per month.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
Just on
I
that
just
slide,
wanted
can
to
you just
check
go
that
back
she
to one
was-
slide?
She was finished.
Done with the
Oh,
domestic, yes.
thank you. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Just on that last slide you had up, can you bring it back up? Just curious, I got no problem with the 726, but then if this gets passed, does it add another 12 and $3 on top of the 726?
No, this is more just consideration going forward. If we wanted to bring the budget more in line with the 20-year infrastructure plan, we're short of 600,000. So if we so choose council to move in that direction, it would be an additional $12 or $3, depending on what level you wanted to increase.
More question. Can you go back to about the second slide?
Of the whole
Back,
presentation.
yeah, way back at the start. Oh, I think you just passed it. I guess where you show there was a mistake made on last year's financials that we're catching up now, that 427.
Correct. Am I going too far? There we go.
So that 427, is that included in the 726?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Keith. You've done a lot of work on this, and I know that, you know, when we have new people on staff, it takes a while to get up to speed and figure out what has happened and what's going to happen in the future. So thank you very much for this. I'll just see if anyone else has any questions on this. I'm assuming that this will also be presented on Friday night at the open meeting? No, this will not. Okay.
Yeah.
But you will speak to something at the open meeting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
I mean, since we're at the very beginning of this process, there's gonna be plenty of times for questions, so I'm gonna keep it a little on the light side. With the error that was made from last year, would it be fair to say that the 726 increase, I mean, we could subtract that error and really like the increase for this year would be that difference, realistically speaking.
If that's what council chooses to do.
Okay,
So last year, the gist of it was underfunded.
so we do have to play catch up. Okay, all right, thank you.
The other thing was when we used some of the funding that was directed to Main Street, that was used 2 years ago. And so we now don't have that money to put into the budget again because we've used that. That was a one-time. So we are sort of playing catch up on a couple of these things. Okay. And of course, you know, if we to meet the requirements of the 20-year plan, which is what True had come up with, it was going to cost another $800,000 a year from what we've got in here. So we have to think about all of this. Did anyone else have any other questions or concerns that they wanted brought up at this time? No? Well, thank you very much for doing that. And we can move on to the agricultural water budget now, please. Thank you.
Okay, so with agriculture, again, as we've noted in the domestic system, we're working to separate the domestic and agriculture systems so that we have more transparency. We're moving towards an accounting practice where we will be funding projects from reserves as opposed to taking them from previous year surpluses, operating or operating. The agriculture system, again, has the same type of increases we brought forward for domestic, which is CPI and labor agreements. With the one exception, we added a 31K to the reserves. No new projects were added as we complete our asset management plan, which was budgeted in 2025. This slide shows a summarization of the cost per increase. And as you can see, it's pretty marginal across the board. This one shows the other items that are outside of operating expenses. Again, with the debt charges, the transfer to capital reserves, and the transfer from capital from operating from the prior year. Brings us to $2.66 per month for the average residential property, or 84 cents per acre. Forward-looking outlook as well as risks. Asset management plan is currently being worked on. It is expected that a significant amount of infrastructure deficit will exist and we will have to plan for reserve funding. Rate increases in 2024 had assisted in the long-term financial sustainability. We hope to incorporate a centralized fleet model. Additional work is required to separate the domestic and agriculture accounting systems. Forward-looking outlook, again, a potential risk. So we have 3 water intakes. Cost is approximately 5 to 7 million each, looking at potential overall efficiencies to reduce the number and combine the intake with the planned domestic water system intake. We'll be reviewing early spray water and irrigation dates. More in summary and considerations, the agriculture water budget is proposed at $2.66 per family unit per month. The reserves are significantly underfunded. Council could choose to adjust the proposed increase to be the same as the domestic water system to reduce potential confusion in communicating budget changes. The result will be an additional amount to reserves and increased user fees as follows. Resident 266 would then increase to 285, and the 84 cents per acre would increase to 90 cents. And that is it for the agriculture system.
Thank you very much. Councillor King, you had a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you just go back one slide, please? I just reference the town is gonna, if it gets past $7.26 and the residents outside of town that we support only gonna go up 285. Can you explain the rationale?
Well, based on the budget increase that we proposed, which was at CPI, the system is smaller with less users, so the increase would be a lesser amount. Also, infrastructure plays a key role. Maybe Rod can add a little bit more.
Yes, so
Yeah.
the overall rates for the ag system are less. And the ag system, they don't have potable water, so the rates are less. And we also incorporated within the I'm not gonna call it the potable water, but the water that's tied to the houses, there was a 10% reduction given last year. So that was continued forward to this year. But again, the rates are quite substantially different. So I hate to use this term, but percentages, they're close but not the same. And there was also no error on the ag system rates. So the domestic system had that error catching up in 2024. And the ag system did not.
I think you missed my question. I wasn't talking about ag properties. I'm talking about residential properties outside of town. Shows an increase of 285 if it gets passed against in town at 726.
Yeah, so just to be clear, all residences that are tied to the domestic water system will, even if they're in the rural, get the same rate as the town. This is the ag system. So really the residents that are hooked up to just the ag system don't have the twinning. They're not getting potable water. So their rates have always been less on those properties. If you're twinned and you're in the rural, you get the same, in effect, the same rate as the town folks. Does that help?
Yeah.
It's because it's ag water.
Okay.
So that means me, because I'm south of town, so I will pay the same as basically the same as the town pays, for sure. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not quite clear on this yet. If I'm a agricultural person and I live on 10 acres with my house and I've been twinned, my acreage agricultural water is going to go up 84 to 90 cents per acre.
So if you're twinned,
Yeah.
the residence itself will receive the same increases. 'Cause that's on the domestic system. So anybody that's twinned and has the domestic water almost goes to the first part of the presentation. They're all in the domestic system. So they will
Right.
see the same increase there. If you do not have potable water, or you have both, you have potable domestic system to your residence and then you use ag water, then your bill would just be for the acreage of irrigation. And so that irrigation rate for your 10 acres, not your house, will be increasing at 84 cents an acre based on 12 months. So that's how much the increase is going to be on the ag water. So the house will be the same as what was presented 10 minutes ago. The ag system, you would just get that 84 cents per acre increase. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
And before we go on to something else, I'm just wondering if you could respond to the fact that we've had water billing, which has been done quarterly. And I'm wondering, has that had any difference to the systems, or is it wouldn't matter whether we did it once a year or whether we have it quarterly? Because that's a big issue for this year, for sure. People were quite confused. They didn't know whether to pay, like what I do is I pay once a year because I don't want to come in and pay every 4 months, 3 months. So I pay it once, but some people I know go on or on an automatic billing system with the town. Has that had any ramifications for either system for you?
Not at this point, no, because the billing is based on the bylaw. And then what we've done for quarterly billing is literally just divided up the annual to 4.
Okay, good, thank you. I just think that there may be some people
for
that are concerned
clarification,
about it.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I-
Go
I
go
just-
ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that, so it did consume a lot more staff resources this past year implementing a new system. So I don't think we want to lose track of that. A lot of extra mailings, especially mailing costs, et cetera, but they were embedded in the budget last year. And that's why you're not seeing really a huge increase on that side, because it was increased last year to compensate. We do highly recommend the more people that can get on the electronic billing system or the automated one will definitely save town staff time, which ultimately means ratepayers will be paying less. So it's
I also think that it would likely be easier for people who take holidays in the wintertime, or people that go away for a couple of months at a time. Because I know that this year, they didn't think to pick up their mail and see that there was changes until a bit too late. So I have a feeling that things will be easier to manage going forward once we've done this. We've done it for a year. Go ahead.
Yes, and
Counselor King.
when's the fourth quarter billing go out for water and sewer?
It was already mailed out. So it went out about 2 weeks ago.
Well, I never got mine.
Could be stuck in the mail. This is the post office.
Jim, we got ours and it's due on the 6th of January.
It has gone out, yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question on the fleet, so I get this understand right. So I keep looking here and we have this line item here which says fleet and each one of these different reserves. And basically, in my mind, that means that before we had all the vehicles in reserve under one budget. And what we're doing now, we're splitting it up so that the vehicles that are used for the water and the ones for the sewer, they're split out of those budgets. And it's just more of a county thing.
Actually, the way it was kind of set up before is it was kind of a part and partial. Some of the equipment, some of the vehicles were kept in, for example, ops or fire department or community services. It was split out. What we're proposing is to bring it all into one self-contained department, which is just fleet. And then what we'll do into the various different departments, we'll have a charge out rate, kind of like a leasing model. And then all the maintenance, everything will be handled into the one department, and the charge out rate would reflect basically leasing that vehicle to that department for use. So
Okay,
we're going to
so thank you.
centralize it
Yeah.
all.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
On that topic,
Counselor Appleby.
and I know this is premature. How do you propose to charge out trucks to the rural and the town accounts, I guess is all I'm saying.
Yes, so administratively, when their operational staff does go out and do specific work on an agriculture properties, they can track that within their timesheet. And so what we're proposing is, well, also within that timesheet, we'll have vehicle charge out rates as well. So if they use specific type of truck or specific for a certain period of time, there'll be a formula that calculates that, so we can have that charge out for just ag. So they don't pay for more or less than what they're actually using.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Counselor Chuck.
Thank you. Just to clarify with what we're trying to, or what we're actively doing with the reserves, and jump in if I get this wrong, but my understanding is previously the reserves were just one giant pot. And what we're trying to do now is, so the town of Osoyoos is one giant corporation. Each department is its own corporation. So you have a domestic water, you have wastewater, et cetera. And within each of those corps, you have your own budget and your own reserve. That way we can adequately plan for future costs, both capital and operating. And then now the fleet is its own, essentially its own entity as well. And then we basically contract the vehicles out to each of those departments. So this may seem more complex, which in this case is a positive, because now we know how much to budget each reserve for, and we know what the capital and operating requirements are for each of the budgets. Is that a fairly adequate summary?
For the most part. For the most part, that is correct. Within our structure here at the town, we do fund accounting. So within it, we have 3 separate funds, actually. We have water, sewer, and the town. So that's really where we look at it as 3 separate business models. Within though, we do have departments that we want them to be self-contained to a certain extent, which then justifies user fees that are going to the different areas. So those reserves, yes, although they'll be in larger amounts, like fleet will have its own, buildings will have its own, sewer will have its own for future projects, that kind of thing. So yes, in that sense, yes, we will have specific reserves. So then we know exactly what we need to maintain for reserve balance and which projects will be coming out of those reserve balances.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That, I think that, that we're getting used to this now, so that's a good thing. So I think that we are going to move on to staff reports and the, sorry, sewer.
It's understood.
Yes. And so now we're going to go on to waste management budget.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
So to start, we'll start with sewer. Sewer, like water, we have incorporated CPI and labor agreements into the budget amount, which is standard. We have one exception again, which is maintenance and supplies, which was increased by 138,000 to address increased maintenance costs for the infrastructure. The additional cost above CPI is approximately $1.80 per month per resident. Reserve allocations were not increased in this case. To lay out that increased amount, we have our expense categories. Again, the only one that's outside which I would consider to be a CPI is the maintenance and supplies category. Our other items are our debt financing as well as our transfers to reserves to bring us to our $2.71 total. Our capital projects for this year. Again, we have a year of catch up as many of our 2025 projects will be carried forward. We have one project that is proposed for 2026, which is backup pumps for lift stations. The forward-looking statements as well as risks. Our sewer rate implemented in 2024 has positioned the sewer utility well. Grant funding is required to meet long-term needs, especially the lagoon upgrades. Lagoon upgrades is expected to increase the rates by $20 to $31 per month. Lagoons require an updated liquid waste management plan. And the lagoon design phase is expected in 2030 with lagoons construction commencing in 2031. Again, other items we'd like to incorporate, which is the centralized fleet model, moving to a more thoughtful 5-year plan implementation, and staff vacancies always pose a risk. That's all I have for sewer before we move on to waste management. Is there any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Just one, when you talk about buying pumps for lift stations, it's in the budget for some 26 and then some in 27. So you got 250,000. About how many pumps does that get us?
I'll refer to Mr. Mattson.
Thank you. We're not 100% sure. We haven't priced them out yet, but right now, like we've got 21 lift stations in town. We've got, I think, 2 on the shelf that in case something goes down for us to put back in an emergency. So this is just to start building it, and then we'll get a more refined number for 2027 to go from there. It was kind of just identified to me probably about a month and a half ago.
And then are all the pumps the same size or some you need a little bigger one?
Some of them are the same size, but they have different flow and head pressure and whatnot. So pretty much other than a few, we need a different pump for each station.
So can I ask, Mr. Madsen, that if you have 21 stations around town, what is an appropriate number of extra to have on hand?
So each lift station typically has 2 pumps in it. Normally for preventative maintenance, and you'd have one on the shelf so that when you pull one out to get serviced, you drop another one back in, so you still have 2 going at all anytime.
Okay.
And because they usually cycle back and forth. So
Okay.
generally speaking, we'd like to have one for each, but there are some stations we can double up and get some efficiencies there.
I think just like that one piece, like, I
Yep.
think the important thing on this budget item is that it's really not costing the town anymore. At some point you do have to buy another pump. This is just basically upfronting the cost of when you have to repair, and or then at one point you can only rebuild them so many times, you throw them out. So I think that's one of the good sells with this. It gives us an inventory to repair or replace really, really quickly, but ultimately the cost of those pumps is going to come. So I think it's a good news story. It's preventative. It's where I think we're trying to go on a lot of our things, and really isn't costing the taxpayer really any more money, because it is going to have to be spent.
Go ahead,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Chong.
To add on to our CEO's points, costs increase every single year. So the
Mhm.
longer we wait, if we take the model of, okay, let's just wait until the pump fails and then we'll just replace it. Wow, that could be 5, could be 10, could be 15. And every year, even if you just take CPI, but then you never know, threat of tariffs, supply chain, etc., another pandemic. But this allows us, again, an upfront cost for long-term savings. I do have another question though.
Go ahead.
So with the potential increase of $20 to $31 per month, is that largely due to the proposed or potential MBBR conversion to the lagoons, or is it just in general? Like, what time frame are we looking at for that monthly, that $20 to $31 increase?
That amount was provided by True as part of that infrastructure planning report.
Mr. Isling, do you?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
As far as the timelines for that project, we're probably, just so we don't double up staff efforts between the water treatment plant and that, we're targeting to try and construct that around 2030, start construction. So just to kind of push things off, because we don't need everything happening all at once. Just having those major projects.
So as a follow-up, so we're looking at around 2030 for that $20 to $31 per month increase. Are there ways, because I mean, that's 5 years away, are there strategies we can take now to mitigate that increase? Because that's fairly significant.
Yeah.
Well, I guess one of the strategies, not only on sewer, but also on water, is we have a tremendous amount of infrastructure deficit. And as on the water side, we could keep raising reserves for other potential, capital projects that need to be going on for the next 20 years. So you could increase the reserves to replace pipes, and in 4 years, when we find out where we're at, our reserves might be in a better place, so we'd have to borrow as much. We are going to be applying for grants on everything and anything possible, which is hopefully going to work in our favor. So I guess that's one of the things one can do, is that's why it was proposed, even on the water side, is to get our reserves up to a more healthy level, or even above. Because if you remember True's presentation 2 years ago, they had one option, which was more expedited, And then there was more conservative option whereby we're getting our infrastructure, our water and sewer into a better place in 20 years. So it was kind of a 20-year plan, but there was an option to speed it up and that reduced the overall risk. So I think, yeah, one of the ways that you can mitigate, I guess, future increases and future risk is putting more into the reserves earlier to address issues. And when that plant's fired up, maybe we've got additional reserves we can fire into that plant without borrowing as much. Does that make sense?
We can only hope.
That's
Yeah.
just a follow-up. I mean,
Yep.
I think the smart thing to do would be to do like a smaller increase starting now and take advantage of compound interest in terms of investing. And then that way, when 2030 hits, instead of a $20 to $31 per month increase, which, I mean, in 5 years, that number is going to be even higher. Well, maybe we're looking at something that's a little bit more digestible. So it would be good to see what some financial modeling would look like if we were to do an additional increase of this amount. What would that look like in the future? So yeah.
Is that a possibility to look at? I mean, not today, but could that be included in some of the thoughts down the road or fairly soon?
Absolutely. That's the main objective really when we do asset management, is to try to bring those plans and to see where we need to be today so that we can smooth out the line of how we need to maintain our reserves. I think if we recall to one of the slides that was presented by True, and it showed all of our capital out for 20 years. Well, that slide specifically kind of shows you want that as smooth as possible. So you want to keep it at that 3 to 4 to 6 million in those reserves, so that those projects can be completed, but we never dip below. And it's kind of like our floor. And then when we do have the emergencies come forward or larger projects come forward, we're positioned to finance them in a better way without having to increase rates too high. So yes, absolutely, asset management is a big part of it.
Okay.
And maybe just one more piece, so we're
Yes,
not
go ahead.
misleading. One of the things we're really trying to do, and Ms. Keith has been trying to get to it, but is, further 10-year plans and 15 years. We've talked about that. And that gives council a better idea as to where we're at. We do know that on Lagoon side, that potential $8 million project is not the end of the Lagoon potential changes that need to occur there. I mean, there are things planned more immediate to make it a little bit more efficient and hopefully reduce some of the odors that occur. But the first initial piece of the 8 million isn't likely the end. Once the liquid management plan is completed and more analysis is done, there's expected to be additional pieces that we can probably phase in over the next decade or 15 years. And those additional projects could potentially be even another 10-15 million dollars. So on the Lagoon side, it's not the end what's in here. And again, we're going to work harder to give you a longer term outlook, but I think that adds prudence to what Councilor Chong is saying. There's a lot more coming within the entire town budget, including the utilities, that is going to put us in a real crunch position in a few years here as we start replacing these big assets.
Yeah, I just go back to my pumps. I support the idea of having some spares, but do they ever go obsolete, like out of date?
Over time, yeah. I mean, they're only going to last so long, and then we have to replace them as well. We did have a situation this last year where one station almost lost 2 pumps in the same, like this summer. So, would have been bad because one was up in Kelowna being serviced at the time when the other one almost went down. So,
And how old would you say they were, roughly? Do you have an idea?
off the top of my head, I don't know.
But technically, these pumps could be good for the next 10 years, hopefully.
Oh yeah.
That's what I thought your question was. If they sat on the shelf, how long could they sit on the shelf without being, you need a new one? That's the only concern that I had thought about.
Yeah, like I said, typically you have three and you just kind of cycle them all through, so they should last, like a pump that's well maintained should last 25 to 30 years.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Counselor Paterica.
Thank you, Richard. Normally I would bring this as part of deliberations, but since we're talking about pumps today, what's a timeline, let's say, for an urgent replacement if we had something to go down that required? That's full repair, but full replacement. Just factoring in current supply conditions and that.
I'm not 100% sure. We typically contract that out through a supplier out of Kelowna. I haven't asked what the lead time is for delivery on those, but I would guess 2 to 3 months. For larger ones, maybe longer because they're not going to have as many of them on the shelf. But for the smaller ones, I would guess 2 to 3 months for delivery.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, and I was just looking at some of the projects, the sewer projects and the water projects that have sort of been put on hold and we're going to do. Some of them are tied to one another. So as we dig up a street and we put in the sewer, we're also doing the water replacement at the same time. So some of those projects are not separate. They might be done together. Is that right? Okay, if there's nothing else on this, we'll go over to the waste management. Thank you.
The waste management budget is relatively unchanged from prior year, except for the introduction of the carts. We are still in the midst of negotiating our contract with the cart supplier and for pickup as well. Currently, our waste contract expires July 1st, 2026, but we hope to be able to have the numbers available so that we can do any other adjustment we need prior to the adoption of this budget. Maintenance supplies increased $10,000, and that's mainly just for carts. We increased the reserve to accommodate the purchase of the new carts by $35,000, and the landfill closure, we increased it by $44,000. General operating expenses have been drilled down to $2.77 per month. Oh, sorry, I've jumped ahead too much here. There we go. No major change here with these items, just a marginal increase just for CPI. Just a transfer to reserves as previously indicated for cart replacement, as well as transfer to reserves for the landfill closure. Challenges, opportunities, staff changeover. This is more encompassing all the budgets now that we've just already talked about, but separating the utilities will take some time. Changing to our financial reporting model to fund capital fully from reserves rather than operating or prior year surpluses. The overall state of town's infrastructure and pending debt load, and completing and keeping asset management plans current, incorporating inflation within the plan. So in summary, our team is looking forward to working with the budget in a more multi-year purpose plan. And council has made significant steps in meeting our asset management strategy requirement in 2024, which is yielding results as we speak, but these efforts need to continue into future years. Our next steps are just our upcoming meetings. We have a public input meeting this Friday, November 14th, a special open November 18th for deliberation, and December 9th for possible adoption of the water, sewer, and garbage recycling budgets.
Thank you. Can I ask, and I'm not sure who would know this, the landfill, I know that we put aside money each year for when we have to close the landfill. At one point, we did a lot of reorganizing out there and it saved many, many years of usable space at the landfill. Do we have any idea how much time we have left on that particular landfill? So at one point, we were looking at having to buy property somewhere else, and I'm not sure where we're at on that one. Mr. Madsen, do you know?
Unfortunately, I don't have the timeline yet. We just got our design operation closure plan about 3 or so weeks ago, and I still am kind of reviewing that with the consultant. So I'm sure it's in there somewhere, but it's a 700-page document. So.
Okay, so I can understand. So at some point, can you come back to a meeting and we can fill that in? Because that's a huge capital cost too, isn't it? If we have to find a different spot. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else have any? Counselor King?
Last one. Back to the water, you said there were some changes made. Is that going to be available to the public? Those changes or just your report?
Changes to,
Well, you mentioned in the water, you caught up on some money that was missed from previous years, which isn't in our original document.
correct.
So I'm just curious, is that new information going to be available to the public, say on Friday night?
Well, I think this is what the public piece is. We're indicating that there's an increase of $7.27 per domestic user.
Okay.
And X dollars of that is due to the underbilling of last year. So this is, yeah, we are incorporating a $7 increase, but about half of that is because of last year's underfunding. So this is kind of that. This is the announcement. Well, it's included in the package. We've included it in the report that's within this agenda package. We've indicated that there was an underbilling for 2025 within the cover report. If you look on basically it's the fourth paragraph. Water user fees are budgeted increase to $7.26 per month for the average home. The increase in user fees kind of standard CPI plus shortfall in billings for 2025.
Page 20.
Page 20 in my agenda for today. And can I ask one other question? I'm assuming that we have the carts, which we have here. The plan is to try and have them given to residences before Christmas. Is that a possibility, or is that not fair to say?
The current timeline from the supplier is I believe December 8th is when they're going to start rolling it out. Maybe December 5th if they get the first batch kind of put together earlier in the day. So it should be mid-December. They should be done.
And I thought we had some of them here on site somewhere.
Not yet.
Oh, we don't. Oh, okay.
Oh,
I thought we did. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Can we be a bit more specific with the shortfall? Add the actual number and potentially add a row in the, really, too many things open right now. In the budget summary that indicates that this was from an error from last year. Because I think just having a brief mention adds too much confusion, and specificity is key in this situation.
Yeah, on page 23 of our agenda package, it does show a little graph, and there's a star there beside water utility revenue, and then there's a little thing at the bottom of it saying the approved budget was not reflected correctly in the fees bylaw, resulting in discounted billings for the year. So that's the one.
Oh,
that
yeah, that,
yeah,
I'm aware of that one. Is
Yeah.
it,
just
please note
somewhere
the
else
number.
you want? Yeah.
Your worship, yeah, you can have that.
numbers in my pictures.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I understand what's going on, but I'm sure the public won't understand. And with the other questions the public got about the water system, et cetera, this is a bad time to try and catch up, I guess. I don't know if there's any better way, but it's just bad timing to try and get back what you were supposed to get 6 months ago.
You're absolutely right. It's certainly not something that was predicted or by any of us, or something that we want to have to deal with, but it's the reality. So we just need to be upfront and say, this is why we have this added on. Yeah, I know it's unfortunate. Go ahead.
To be fair, we're trying to get back what we should have been getting for the past 20 to 30 years, right? So it's an uphill battle, and we just got to keep rolling that boulder up.
Okay, so if there's nothing else on the wastewater, we will, thank you, Mrs. Keith, for all the work that you've put into this. And we will now go on to the Osoyoos Airport Development. And is that you, Mr. Risling? Oh, Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. So the report in front of you is the Osoyoos Airport Development Society liaison. The town has received a request from the Osoyoos Airport Development Society to have a representative to liaise with the Osoyoos Airport Development Society. Just to, make a note, Councillor Poderica was previously appointed to the Project Management Committee, which was the Osoyoos Airport Construction Management Committee. That is separate. So they're looking for somebody now, as the agreements are being reviewed and signed, to have a member of council be a liaison with them.
So so we have the two committees out there, the Project Management Committee, is that is still being used right now? And the separate, the ODES?
That one is going to be dissolved because it's complete
Okay.
now.
Good.
So now the Osoyoos Airport Development Society is looking for a liaison, so that as we move forward with the
Okay.
operating of the airport that ODES is looking after, the council member can liaison with them and then report back.
Thank you, but this one is a non-voting liaison. That's what that means.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So Councillor King, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I would like to see Zach, if he's interested, stay on, and possibly myself as an alternate.
Sounds good to me. Are you seconding that? Is that what we need right now? Councillor Poderica, are you okay with that?
That your worship.
And obviously Councillor King is as well. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we go with Councillor Poderica and Councillor King as the alternate. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, thank you to you two for taking that on. And now we're looking, sorry. I don't think so. Thank you very much. And so we're going to go to the appointment to the Okanagan Regional Library Board. And we do have at this point, Councillor Bennett is the town appointee, and I assume that Councillor King is the alternate. That's what the way it works right now. Are you agreeable? Oh, Mrs. Robinson, do you want to? No, he's good, yeah.
I
Do you
just
want-
wanted to thank you, your worship. I just wanted to let everyone know that this is a yearly appointment, and yes, as it's been mentioned, Councillor Bennett is sitting right now with Councillor King as the alternate, and this one will go until October 2026 due to the election.
I would highly recommend that we continue with the two appointments that we've had for the last 3 years. Are you okay with that, both of you?
Somebody else wants to.
Quick, make a motion.
Don't say anybody jump.
No. Okay, it's been moved. Councillor Chong seconded, Councillor Poderica, that we have Councillor Bennett and Councillor King as the alternate for the library board. All in favor? Good, thank you.
I just a question. Would I start ever receiving emails when they meet? I never receive any, so I don't know when you're going.
Look after.
He'll let you know from now on. Okay. And the next one is Mrs. Robinson again about the acting mayor appointments.
Thank you, your worship. So every year, it is under our council procedure bylaw and the community charter that we require appointments for the acting mayor. And again, we will be going from January through to October, and we have set out the months as per last year, and it seemed to work well unless council has any other suggestions.
Council, what is your wish on this one? Does anybody wish to suggest changes? Or are you okay with what's going on now? I think that we're all happy that Councillor Bennett looks after December. As usually people want to go away. So thank you, Councillor Bennett. He's going in January, I think, instead. Okay, so could somebody make a motion, please, that we accept it the way it's written? Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you very much. Okay, and next is the zoning bylaw amendment. And that's one of our bylaws that we're up to at now, and that's the parcel coverage at Meadowlark development. And I see that Mr. Garish is online. Mr. Garish, would you like to give us a little update on this or report, please?
Sure, thank you. Through the mayor. So I don't have any PowerPoints for this particular item because I know it has been before council on a couple of previous occasions recently. But just as a reminder, it is proposing to address parcel coverage allowance at the Meadowlark development, and is proposing to increase it from the current 50% to 53% in order to facilitate the dwelling design that the developer is using in that particular development, and which we understand at the staff level has previously been used prior to the new zoning bylaw coming in to develop, I want to say 2 or 3 existing houses for sure. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. We have had, and they are included in the report, we've had 3 people send in letters. So they've been included with the agenda. So anybody who wants to have a look at those may do that. This particular project and zoning bylaw suggestion was talked about at some length at the last meeting. And so there's quite a lot of information on it in our report. I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions or would like to make any suggestions. Councillor King.
Madam Mayor, just a question around that pond. Is there a riparian area around that pond with those 3 or 4 properties?
Through the mayor, yes, there is.
So that is already included in the parcel, absolutely. All right, so does anyone have any suggestions on this? And if so, is there somebody who'd like to make a recommendation? Councillor King?
Number 1, good for second reading.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Poderica? Is there anybody have any questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you very much. That has passed. And I'm assuming that it would come back. Is there a timeline that we have to do before it becomes it's adopted? Do we know how long that is, Mr. Garish? Can it be done at a meeting in December or?
Sorry, I'm just trying to recall off the top. Oh, sorry, through the mayor. I'm just trying to recall if we have to obtain Ministry of Transportation approval prior to adoption. If we do, I suspect the soonest we could bring it back would be the November 25th meeting.
Absolutely. Okay. So we'll wait for that to come on the agenda either at the next meeting or the one in December. Does that sound about right? Thank you very much. So it's been moved and seconded that we go with the first, second, and third reading. So we've agreed on that. So we'll move on to the next one. Thank you. And where are we? The next one, and Mr. Garish, I'll just check with you, but this is the official community plan amendment bylaw, the zoning amendment bylaw, and the subdivision and development servicing amendment bylaw, and the land use procedures. And I think we've been through this a couple of times, and we've had first, second, and third reading on this. And I think today we're just looking to have it adopted. Am I correct?
Through the mayor, that is correct.
Okay. Council, Does anybody have any concerns of this? And so it was read a first and second time in September. Public hearing was held in October the 14th, and it was read a third time on October the 14th. Today, we're looking for adoption. If, go ahead.
I move option 1.
And it's seconded by Councillor Poderica. All in favor? Thank you very much. And the next one is the zoning amendment bylaw on 5601 Lakeshore Drive. And I believe we may be in the same boat on this one, that we've had first, second, and third readings on October the 14th. And I believe that we're up to date on everything, and we're now ready to have this bylaw adopted. Am I correct? Okay. Council? Okay. Moving to have this adopted. Is there a seconder? Councillor Chong. All in favor? Thank you very much. And next is the proposed servicing officer designation bylaw. And I believe we had, this was on October the 14th. It was resolved to be initiated on October the 28th. We had the first, second, and third readings of this, and today we're looking for adoption. Is that correct, Mr. Garish? Okay.
Yes.
Councillor Chong?
Move option 1.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Bennett. All in favor? Thank you very much. And go back to the beginning and thank you. We will now look for, we don't have any notice of motion or reports from committees, so we will ask the CAO for his report, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to give council, I guess, and the public an update on Desert Park. We're continuing to evaluate the structural integrity of the building. The engineers were on site, I think it was last week, and hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have a better understanding of the state it is in. We're really pushing them to give us at least some indication as far as dollars to repair, so it's ready for the budget deliberations on the town's operating side. There's a potential of Harness Racing BC to be operating on that site, so there's also a lot of dialogue occurring on that, and I thought I'd just bring it up, even though it is very, very tentative. It's been out there for a while, so I'm sure a lot of people have heard. So we're looking into that, and hopefully that's maybe an opportunity for the community as a whole. TGIF Youth Night was November 7th. Well attended. It was the new Superman movie. And yesterday, of course, which is something I think everybody's gonna bring up, was at Sonora yesterday. November 7th and 9th was the SOMHA under 18 rec hockey tournament. Just a reminder again that the public washrooms are now winter hours, and so a lot of them have been closed and some have reduced hours. The 2 large portable signs have been put away for the winter. I think they were very effective in communicating messages. Trick or treat happened. Halloween happened last week, and we had handed out over 1,000 treats here at Town Hall. New business licenses: Gina McKay, Planning Consulting Services, Holiday Nail and Spa Corp, Roan Beauty, Iris Serini Healing and Coaching. Change of a business license address was Heaven on Earth Total Body Care and Wellness, and change of business ownership was Salon 85. Just a little bit of a heads up. The business license invoices were mailed last week, and so if you're a business, please take a look at that. And if they are paid late after March 1st, there'll be $100 late fee. And yeah, and that goes further than that. If they're not paid by April 1st, the business license will be revoked. So just a heads up for the businesses out there. From the fire department's perspective, they're still putting on courses. They had wildfire mitigation specialist course, which was held at our town, our fire hall, but we had people from all over the region attend. Again, it's that whole collaboration and one region working together. And yeah, just hats off to our fire department for building that culture amongst the region, because we all can't do it alone, and having that collaboration to help one another keeps really all of our costs down and also improves the safety of the community as a whole. They are training for the Superior Tender Shuttle accreditation. That's something that the rural area is really looking forward to. And we have heard that we'll be able to do that testing over the next couple of weeks as long as the weather holds out. So we've got people lined up to do the testing. These are external folks that actually time our firefighters in delivering, meeting all these standards to get that accreditation. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. They've been planning for this and training for it for several months. So it's a long, difficult process. And so hats off to all those volunteers that have put in that training time, and keep our fingers crossed that on test day it works out. And I'm not going to talk about fire chief for a day, because I think somebody else is going to talk about that. And I know it was talked about earlier, but I'm just going to highlight it again. The carts, residential waste pickup carts, are scheduled to be handed out prior to Christmas. So just, I know a lot of people are inquiring about that. I think daily we receive calls on that, and hopefully within the second, third week in December, they'll be rolled out. And we do get calls in lagoons. There's some work going on up there with new aerators. They're going to be installed in the spring. So I just want to bring that. It's in the future, but I know we do get calls regarding lagoons, so I wanted to bring that up. We also had fire hydrant servicing over the past week. So we bring in people to exercise and service our fire hydrants. So if you saw people around the fire hydrants, that's what was going on. And what you're seeing right now is the crews out there starting to put up the Christmas lights. So gonna start looking festive here pretty soon. That's all. That's my reports.
Thank you very much, Mr. Risling. Could we have a motion, please, to receive the CAO report for information? Councillor Potterica, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And we'll now go to council reports. Councillor King, you're first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Last week attended the community service, and you will see Director Davis should bring a report forward from that committee. They're very supportive of repairing the grandstand, subject to the cost against what it would cost to tear it down. And they're also going to be sending a letter forward about supporting the idea of the races coming to Osoyoos. And also yesterday, everybody here went to the Remembrance Day, and a big shout out to our local Legion and all the volunteers that did a great job.
Thank you. You're quite right. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. November 3rd, attend the Trails of the Okanogans meeting. Friday, November 7th, a couple hours at the Okanagan Regional Library, going through policies and rewriting and updating a lot of the old bylaws. November 11th, yesterday, Remembrance Day, and I'm really proud of all the people in the Osoyoos because it was a massive turnout. So way to go.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Chung.
At the risk of repeating and being an echo chamber, but we all attended the Remembrance Day event yesterday. And again, thank you for all the volunteers and everyone who made it successful. It's very well attended. Just a reminder, the South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce is hosting it's an event November 19th, 6:30 at Sonora Center, and it's a casual but semi-formal chat with local Osoyoos businesses. So you don't have to be a member to attend. So we did budget money away to contract the South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce for the express purpose of enhancing economic development and retention and enhancement in Osoyoos. The trouble is it's difficult creating action points without hearing from those businesses directly. So this event on November 19th, 6:30 at Sonora Center, is every business's opportunity to brainstorm and to provide input. It is, the chamber has been doing amazing things with videos and other media. The biggest thing that was rolled out this past year was a Chamber Perks app. So it's a unified app where businesses, including mine, we can upload deals or other advocacy. So it's a very useful tool for communication. But that's just one of the initiatives. So I would like, I would hope that there's high attendance because the more voices we hear, the more data we can collect, and then we can be more specific with what we ask chamber to achieve with the money that we budgeted away. So that concludes my council report.
Thank you very much. And I agree. And I've written that down because I do remember I had it on my list somewhere as well. Councillor Poderica.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the 29th, I attended City of Penticton's council open house. Always great to see what our colleagues are doing up and down the valley, and as they kickstart their own budget discussions right now, and you know, things that they do in their community moving forward. And then, of course, yesterday attended with the rest of council. I remember say ceremonies at Sonora Community Center. Again, special thanks to Branch 173. Our veterans, our service members, our volunteers, and our first responders, and everyone who did attend. It was a great turnout. It was great to see the community out and support, and it was a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so in the last couple of weeks, I went to the fire department lunch, the fire chief for the day, and I joined with some of our local fire department and the young lady who was the fire chief for the day. She had lots of fun at that, and I just want to thank McDonald's because they gave us all lunch. They provided that for the 8 of us that were there, I think. So it was very kind of them. They do that every year. I want to also mention that I saw this on Castanet, that the World Atlas list has put some of the friendliest towns in BC, and Oliver and Osoyoos are both on the list. I think there's Golden and Revelstoke, I think, are the other ones that are on that list. And I thought, how cool. I hadn't seen it. And I was at a meeting the other day and somebody said, oh, congratulations on getting on that list. And I said, what are you talking about? So I had to quickly go and have a look. So well done, Oliver and Osoyoos. We were at an OIB fundraiser up at the Cultural Center. That was that there were several of us from the town of Osoyoos, and we were very happy to see that the museum had coordinated a lot of the paintings from the school, the school that was here, and Mr. Walsh, I think his name was the teacher. A lot of the kids had done paintings, and many of them, I think there was 14 that were there that night. And they've been returned to the OIB, and they're going to put them in their as sort of a museum entry in their cultural center. So it was a very nice event that we went to. I was at Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting, and we were looking at strategic planning, which everybody else seems to be doing. We're doing that at the regional district as well. And the OBWB, there's on the last meeting that we had, there's some funding for Kelowna, along with the OBWB, to do some monitoring and forecasting of algae blooms, which is kind of an interesting topic, and they're not quite sure how this happens, so they've got some money to fund that. And so we will see what happens there. The water supply and water quality grants have just been announced, and the deadline is February the 20th, 2026. And the theme this year is innovation in water supply, quality, and quantity. So Town of Osoyoos is certainly welcome to apply to this. There's, I think, $350,000 in that fund. And we are still at drought level 3. And the Make Water Work project, a lot of people signed up on that, and of course Osoyoos won that this year, but people could continue to pledge on there, and 2 winners were selected. I don't know their names, but one winner is from Osoyoos and one of the winners is from Spell Machine. So both ends of the valley. So I'm sure we'll hear about that soon. Remembrance Day, I just want to thank Brian and Sandra Holgate, who are amazing volunteers for the Legion. They have put on this event for many, many years. And Brian he's the MC for the entire event. And Sandra reads the poem in Flanders Fields and does a report on why we celebrate Remembrance Day. And I said to her, because I was sitting beside her at the front, and I said, it sounds similar to last year's. Do you just use the same one? She said, I rewrite it every year. And I bet she's done it for the last 10 years. So they're amazing. And Steve Hershey gives amazing talks to everybody and conducts the prayers. He's the pastor for this. A great, great job for all of the Legion people, and they're to be thanked for sure. RDOS meeting, we've had quite a lot of talks about water systems, and because there are many private water systems within our region, and wow, of course, what do they want? But they, because it's so difficult to upkeep these systems, they want the regional district to take over the system. So it's becoming quite a challenging topic to look at because some of them are just way too expensive. Anyway, you'll hear more and more about that, but we have to have sympathy for the people that are on these systems. I've been meeting with the Collaborative Leadership Table group, Tessa and Scott, and we're planning for our next meeting where we will look at what's going to happen next. This is with watersheds, and that is next week. And I've also met with the Okanagan Xeriscape Association, which provided us with a plant out there, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's a wonderful plant put out front, and they're doing a strategic plan, and so they phoned me to see what kind of information I might have on there. And last Friday, I was up in Summerland, and I went to the sod turning of the Okanagan Food Hub. And I've got a little picture here. I'm just going to read what it says on the back. It was Local Motive Farmers Network Cooperative, and they are putting together this food hub. Fascinating. Food hubs are shared use food and beverage processing facilities that provide local food and agriculture businesses with access to commercial processing space, specialized equipment, and expert support. And I know I was there, not only was I invited as the mayor, but I was also there as the representative for ETSI-BC because ETSI-BC had provided some money in 2021 and 2024 to get this food hub going. It was slowed down. It's been talked about for about 8 or 9 years, but because of COVID, everything sort of slowed down for a while. And they've also got a current application in, but the board does not have a look and okay those applications until I think it's next week. And that's another $1 million that is given out. $1 million from ETSI-BC in the spring and in the fall. So well worth it. But I was amazed when I was at this event that the number of people that were there. I bet there was 100, 150 maybe people that were there. They did the sod turning. The Minister of Agriculture, Lana Popham, was there, and some of the local MLAs. Amazing. And they talked about how this would work. And so basically a small business that might want to make jams as an example, and they don't want to set up their own business somewhere because it's too costly. So what they can do is go to the food hub And everything is there, and the insurance is paid, and their food safe has gone through, and interior health and everything, and they can rent a place. If they want to go in and use the facilities that are provided in there to make their jam and process it and take it away, they might want 2 weeks. So they would go in and book 2 weeks in there, as an example, to do this. Amazing. There's quite a few of them around the province. I think there's 7 others. One of them, closest one, I think, is up in Salmon Arm. Anyway, certainly looking forward to it, and it's called the Okanagan Food Hub, which means that it is certainly available. It's built in Summerland, but I would think anybody in the South Okanagan who had a business and wanted to use it once it's built. All they did was do the first shovel, but they're hoping to have it done fairly soon. And I think that is all of the things that I had on my list for today. So I will,
One question.
yes.
So is there a timeline when they're hoping to open that food hub?
I'm hoping that it's within the year, but it depends how long it takes them to build it. Yeah. So I will move on to the in-camera, the section of the meeting that pursuant to section 91 of the Community Charter, a part of the council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to one or more of the following. Section 91D, the security of the property of the municipality. 91G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that in the view of the council could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality if they were held in public. So thank you. Thank you. You want us to vote on that?